Welcome to Building Fortunes Radio. Make sure you check us out at buildingfortunesradio.com. Along with KISK, our Keep It Simple Circle marketing partners, we are here to help our Youmongus AM and Youmongus FM radio customers build their businesses and make the world a better place. At Building Fortunes Radio, we know how much your business means to you and the people important to you. So join us to make the world a better place. Spread the word, tell a friend, and go make a difference in your world. Now on to our show with your host, Peter Mingils. Take it away, Peter.
Hello, everyone. Peter Mingils here. You are listening to the Count on the Truth radio show with Ken Nielson. We do this every Tuesday, 8:30-ish, if you will, on the eastern side, 6:30-ish, if you will, on the mountain side, and that's where Ken is. And we've been doing this radio show for a number of years, and the way this whole thing got started, for those people that are wondering, is Ken was and still is a customer of ours, and I was doing some creative stuff on building websites and with adding some special features, and Ken liked it. So we spoke a little bit about that, and then as we were having the conversation, it led to, what's going on in the industry and what's happening, and, the thing after COVID specifically, and all the stuff that's happening on the internet, and all the suspicious phone calls you get, and the emails that you get. You got to watch out for fraud. Ken basically said, there's largely a distrust. And sometimes the anti-MLM YouTubers get into people's heads, and they, start a different narrative as if this is a bad industry. And he says, I got to find a better way to kind of get people's attention so they could take a closer look at what we do, because what we do is really good. So I said, let's do some radio shows on that stuff, Ken, because you're right up on my alley, and talk about the same thing that I talk about a lot. And I'd like to be able to help people change their mind, because we'll give them the right information. So let's do some radio shows together. You're a good guy. You can sling together some good sentences. And then it's going to be, well, what are we going to call the website? And obviously the website should match the radio show. So we're dealing with websites. You need a domain name. And he gave me a list that he owned or could own. And as I started going through the list, I was like, oh, I like that one. I like that one. This one's really good too. No, this one could work. Like all of them could work. And then I got down, I don't remember where it was in the list, but it was at countonthetruth.com. And I said, that's the one. I really like that. That really, struck out with me. Struck a chord with me, because I said, count on the truth. Number one, it's easy to spell. It's a .com, and it kind of exemplifies what we're talking about. We want people, want to count on the truth. They want to know that the answers you're giving them are the answers that are truthful and are in everybody's best interest. And if it's good for somebody, they should do it. If it's bad for somebody, they should avoid it. And, Ken's a good guy, and he's working with a good company doing some great things. So let's do that one, Ken. So it's Count on the Truth. So if you go to countonthetruth.com, you'll see a better website than I could have built for him. He's done a really great job on his website. He's added some things that personalize the domain name according to what he's been building. But also you'll be able to hear the radio shows, and we put these radio shows on the Building Fortunes Radio Network, which gets blasted all over the place. It goes on the Youmongus Radio, the AM and the FM stations. It goes on Amazon's Music and Audible, and Apple has Apple Podcasts and Spotify, Joe Rogan's channel. It goes over there as well, and it goes all over the place on iHeartRadio, some big ones and some small ones. So if you see Count on the Truth, it seems like everywhere. It's because it is. So we're going to talk about whatever we're going to talk about on the week after July 4th. So this is the new second half, and it's our first radio show during, let's call it the second half. We have some good news for you, some cool stuff you'll be able to listen to. So, Ken, thanks for being here on your own radio show.
Hey, Peter. Well, I'll be darned. It's great to be connected, and interesting some of the things that you mentioned there for getting started. I don't know about being able to make a website better than you. I just know that, in fact, I say that because sometimes it's just easy for me to get distracted and go down the wrong rabbit hole, so to speak. And there are just so many different aspects of everything. It's just easy to talk about each one a little bit, and maybe sometimes I just need to be more focused. So that's kind of up for grabs. I think you probably make a more focused website than because I know I've got to update some things and make it a little easier for people to follow along.
You did a good job.
I appreciate that. So that we don't get too carried away and lose too much time, I'll just kind of throw this out real quick. I actually have a chance to when I'm out and about, there's a radio program that comes on and it says so many years ago on this day in history or however you go about certain things. There's just so many things happening right now. Of course, we just celebrated 250 years of freedom, which I tell you what, behind the scenes, if people knew about everything that had to happen to get where we're at, it would be, I think, a very enlightening and amazing story behind itself and all the little things. And it just seems like as human beings, we like to ruin things instead of make them better or keep them as good as they are. And I won't compare that to the government because that would open up a whole nother can of worms, so to speak. But I am going to throw this out real quick. Let's see. In 1947, the year 1947, I'm just going to kind of see if that year actually rings a bell to you, because there was something that happened that they've actually made a movie. Steven Spielberg has got a new movie out. And if I say to you Disclosure Day, what have you heard about that particular movie, Peter?
I have not heard but anything about the movie.
Okay.
When you say disclosure, I'm thinking about aliens,
Aha.
space aliens.
Okay. And in 1947, on this day, it happened in Roswell, New Mexico.
Oh, wow.
It's supposedly the alleged Roswell UFO crash.
Wow.
And I know that you have another gentleman that does a special program, or used to anyways, was involved with some of this stuff, UFO disclosure and that kind of stuff. But, yeah, on this day in 1947 was the UFO, the Roswell incident is what they call it.
Wow.
And there's been so many books written, and I know that they have the thing where they get together with George Norrie on Coast to Coast AM radio, and has to do with the desert. I want to say Disclosure in the Desert now that I've said Disclosure Day, but it's the where they get together and talk about it. Now, something else that happened, and this was in 1977, because we talked about, a few episodes ago, we talked about 8 songs. I brought up 8 different songs, and I says, which one of those songs was not a single hit? And I remember I gave you the names of the songs. And do you recall that when we did that by any chance, Peter?
I do recall that we did that.
Okay.
I don't recall which one.
Right.
We probably talked about a couple of different ones, which ones it wasn't.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't remember which one. Well,
then that's okay.
But I remember the conversation.
Okay, that's the key right there. As long as you remember the conversation, because
it's right at the tip of my tongue. You're going to say it before I think it.
Well, no, because I gave you 8 songs. There was "Born to Run" by Bruce Springsteen, "Stairway to Heaven" Led Zeppelin. Number 3 was "Freebird" by Leonard Skinner. 4 was "Dream On" by Aerosmith. 5 was "Fortunate Son" by Creedence Clearwater Revival. 6, "More Than a Feeling" by Boston. 7, "Bohemian Rhapsody" by Queen. And 8, "Smoke on the Water" by Deep Purple. And I said, so which one of those never made it? Which one of those didn't make it to the top number 1 spot? And I think you said "More Than a Feeling" by Boston. I think that's what you said.
And I don't think so. I don't remember which one.
Okay, and the answer was
none of them.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say, none of them.
Yeah, none of them made it. And I was surprised because I go, oh, come on. "Dream On" by Aerosmith and "Freebird" by Leonard Skinner. And, I mean, "Stairway to Heaven"? Come on. But Stairway to Heaven was never released as a single, so they wanted you to buy the whole album instead. But anyway, now the reason I bring that up real quick is in 1977, on this day, there was an album released by a group that I think was one of my favorite albums of all time. And that particular album was called "Grand Illusion" by a group called Styx. I'm sure you know the group Styx. I don't know if you have any favorite songs by the group Styx. But
hey, babe.
There you go. Yeah. And what was interesting is I found out about them kind of indirectly because we'd gone to a different concert and they were the opening band. And it was just absolutely fantastic, the concert that they put on. Just absolutely entertaining, great music, not great theatrics, as maybe like a Kiss concert or something to that effect. But they had a song called "Grand Illusion." And I thought, it seems like that really does resonate with a lot of people. Welcome to the Grand Illusion. Come on, boys, get your tickets for the show. And it goes on and it says, deep inside, we're all the same. And we all have different challenges. We all have different ways of looking through the window, trying to figure out how to get better at what we do, maybe how to make more money, how to have more free time, maybe live in a better house, buy different vehicles. How are you going to get there? And, of course, we've talked about it before. And what I refer to and mean by that is you're only as free as your options. And I know that you have a lot of different things that you can throw into that mix, but it really does come right down to it. And I kind of led from one to the other, I guess, just because on that day in history. But I know Disclosure Day is all about this thing where they're going to expose such things as UFOs and aliens, and if we're really being visited from these beings from other planets. And so it makes people wonder a little bit. I know the people that have seen these crafts, that have been involved with these crafts, and then we get into music. Music can change your life. Reading can change your life. Just something that somebody says, some simple statement can change your life. And I know it's the same way when people hear about the home business industry. And I think when it comes right down to it, it seems like it's got a black eye, because there's some people that do it the right way and some people that don't do it the right way. So I was a little bit worried when we actually decided to go with this title or this website called Count on the Truth, because, there's so many different subjects that you could refer to on Count on the Truth. In fact, it almost sounds like maybe a paranormal title. Or maybe just, for example, I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to Coast AM radio in your neck of the woods,
sure.
Neck of the world. But
I used to listen to it all the time.
Okay,
and not recently, but when I was younger.
Yeah.
Especially when I was driving home late at night.
Okay, exactly.
Kept me awake.
That's usually when they have it on, is late at night.
Yeah.
And I don't know, was yours with Art Bell or George Norrie, or did you kind of transition with both?
I think I did George Norrie mostly.
Okay.
I don't remember Art Bell.
All right. So George Norrie has kind of taken over for Mr. Bell. And, of course, Mr. Bell, he was a ham radio operator, so I got to talk to him personally every now and then. And I actually helped him with a couple of things, which we won't get into that right now either. That's kind of an interesting scenario, how that all came about. But they talk about the possibilities and the different things that everybody brings up, and how everybody wants the government to tell them all about what they're hiding, and et cetera, et cetera. But I still think, when it comes right down to it, you're only as free as your options. And so you have to ask yourself, what are the options? And I bring that up because we have talked about this maybe just a few weeks ago. I have a young lady that's really thinks I'm the person that's going to bring to pass one of her ideas that she's really excited about. And I know it's interesting how things change as we age and we get older, and we, depending on our experiences and our practicalities there, the things that we have already experienced, we refer to those things. And so she's been a waitress, and the people that she knows that owns this restaurant are ready to sell the restaurant. And I said, well, how much do they want for their restaurant? And she said $65,000. And I said, well, this kind of reminds me of franchising. I know we talk about franchising. In fact, we talk about franchising so much, I think people probably get tired of talking about franchising, Peter. But I said, the beauty of this is the fact there's no franchising fees, which I don't think people understand when it comes right down to it. And last week we actually talked about 7-Eleven that said right up front, the page that the website that we went to, you had to have $100,000 in liquidity. And you explained what liquidity was. And, I mean, okay, so $65,000 is less than $100,000. And plus, if you bought into the restaurant, because everything's ready to go, you don't have franchising fees. It's just kind of your own little thing that you do here within this particular valley, this region, and of course you've got to do marketing and advertising. You've got to have customers come in, and you've got to cater to the people that are your customers or your people that are going to be your mainstay, so to speak. And I said, so the question is now you're going to have to hire people. You have to decide how much you're going to pay them. You got to make sure that you're keeping up with all the regulations, the different things that they require because of the food that's involved, et cetera, et cetera. So there are advantages, I think, to something like this, as opposed to franchising. You don't have certain things. Well, there are certain things that are associated with it, and other things that aren't kind of the catch-alls. But I finally asked her. I said, so what if? I says, how long is it going to take you? Let's say we wanted to put some things together. And I said, so if we're going to make you part of the business, or if you just want to be somebody who runs the business, and that's kind of where she was headed. No, I just want you to buy the business, and then I'll take care of it for you, and we'll make sure everything is in order. And I thought, do you realize how much work goes into doing something like that? I mean, you only touched a really small portion of what is going on with that particular part of the business. And I says, in fact, it reminds me of a story about a young lady by the name of Danny Johnson. So I kind of went over that story with her. Danny Johnson was homeless, was broke, living out of her car, had like $2.03 to her name, and ran into some people that were involved with the home business industry. And anyways, as time goes on, she ends up going from broke, and like I said, being homeless, living out of her car. She turned her car into her business and worked out of the trunk of her car in a payphone. And within 2 years, she becomes a millionaire, which is incredible because obviously there's not going to be very many people that are capable of doing something like that. So she has different courses. She teaches people the right questions. She teaches how to work with people on the phone. And we know that that's almost such a huge challenge in itself anymore, just because of the way technology has turned itself. I mean, you've got texting and you've got all the different technology that's out there. But I told her, I said, so if it's going to take you, I said, really, what's your goal? I mean, do you want to get financially ahead? Do you want to live in a nice home? Do you want to have nice cars? What is it that you're looking for? And she just says, a better way of life. And I said, well, what if we can show you a better way of life like what Danny Johnson was experiencing, as opposed to maybe the traditional way of making a business work? And so that's where the conversation got kind of interesting. And that's kind of where I wanted to make the main point of maybe this episode, Peter. But I know that we get going here, and time flies by, so I think we're probably at about the halfway or the break point. I'll throw it back to you, maybe go to the commercial break, and we'll come back and kind of go from that part of the deal here and continue on.
You got it. Take a quickie commercial break. Here we go.
You've been listening to a special broadcast of the Building Fortunes Radio Show on Building Fortunes Radio and the Youmongus Radio Network. If you are interested in the world's best AI receptionist and AI business building platform, you will want to get your AI receptionist from Youmongus.com. Go to the specials page on Youmongus.com. That's Youmongus.com/specials. Explore how small business owners and major corporations are using Youmongus AI receptionists to do everything from answering incoming calls to scheduling appointments and even answering customer service questions. Your AI receptionist can do everything from making sure you never miss a call to texting reminders and follow-ups and even upgrading and closing more sales. Your AI receptionists will help you increase your productivity in just about everything. Building Fortunes Radio suggests you have to check them out on the specials page on Youmongus.com. That's Youmongus.com/specials. You can make your world a better place and help others do the same with the AI receptionists at Youmongus.com. Now, back to our Building Fortunes Radio Show. Take it away, Peter.
And we are back with Ken Nielson. We're on Countdown to Truth Radio. So, Ken, let's continue with that conversation.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Peter. Yeah, so we talked about the different aspects of the restaurant business, et cetera, and I said, so if it came right down to it, and you were to choose or decide which particular business that you would want to have or make so that you could get ahead, what would it be? And it was interesting, it was interesting watching the wheels turn and all the different ideas that she had. So she said it would have to be something that she, that made her feel like she was fulfilling her life's goals, and maybe something that she was passionate about. So with that being said, and everything that we know, I know that at some point you kind of had the same idea that was presented to you, and you had to make a choice, and it had to do with options. And I think it was somebody at Electrolux that sat you down and says, well, where do you want to be, Peter? What do you want to have? What do you have to do to get to where you want to be? Does that ring a bell or sound familiar to you?
It sticks with me every day.
Okay.
So the conversation sticks with me every day. So when I was first I want to comment about your girl in the restaurant.
Okay.
As long as she wants to live in a restaurant and that's her life dream, then she should probably do the thing.
That's an excellent point. Yeah.
That's what she'll be. Because anybody who's ever owned a restaurant knows that, the hours of operation, meaning like what time you're going to be open, 8 o'clock in the morning until whatever time of night.
Right.
That's just part of the hours you'll be working. Then you might as well pack on 4 to 6 hours on both sides. Mm-hmm. 4 to 6 hours for the prep, 4 to 6 hours for the ending, and you might say, wait a minute, now you're almost approaching 24 hours. Mm-hmm. And like, So unless your goal is to live in a restaurant, that's what you're gonna have. So buying it was the easy part, or the easiest out of the whole equation. Running it is like way different. So
right.
Back to my comments about you're only as free as your options. I learned this early on when I was interviewing for my first real job, which was a manager trainee at Electrolux, and I did not know it was Electrolux. Should have known, but I didn't know what an Electrolux was. And a guy named Joe was the one who interviewed me, and he said, let me help you with some of the thought processes. Like, you got to figure out what kind of a lifestyle you want to live, and then figure out what do you have to do to give you that lifestyle. What careers will get you that lifestyle? And that was a big thought. He says, right. I said, okay. And he said, well, let me help you with the calculations. Do you want to live in a house? Yeah. Do you want to drive a car? Yeah. You want to have more than one? If you're going to have a wife, you're probably going to need more than one. Okay, 2 cars. You going to have any kids? Maybe. Those kids going to eat anything? Maybe. You're going to want any kind of a social life? So I went through the whole thing. And I'm like, holy crap, as I'm adding all this stuff up, we figure it out monthly. I'm like, holy crap. All I know is that's a big number.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, let's pick the number 100,000. And that was way back in 1984.
Wow.
And he says, who do you know that makes that kind of income? And I started to write, and we wrote it down.
Yeah.
So lawyer, doctor, engineer, architect, maybe a high-level politician, blah, blah, blah. So we started listing all those things down. And then he said, okay, well, those are the options. How about your options? We had boxer, baseball player, basketball player, on a professional level.
Right.
And he says, so how about your options? Well, we already know you don't want to be a doctor because that's why you're here. Because to be a doctor, you had to go through another 4 years, another 2 years, and being heavily in debt, and you'll be 30 before you start making any money. So scratch that one off. Lawyer, maybe not as long as school, but certainly probably as much in debt. Scratch that one off. Is that an option for you? Like, don't talk about other people. Don't give me the game plan. Don't make this any more easy than it is. We're talking about you.
Correct.
How about a professional football player, boxer? And as we started to scratch all those things off, I realized that if I am only as free as my options, and business owner was one of those options, that was one. Sales was another one of those options because sales is the highest paid profession because you can be paid on your performance. Then, sales manager, running teams, okay, good. He didn't know about network marketing because I do believe if he knew about network marketing, he would have put network marketing on that list. Now, whether he would have figured out a way to scratch it off or not, but I just don't think he really knew about network marketing. But when we were done, he really whittled it down to my only options. This is the funny part. My only options was indirect sales, the management training program, and working with him specifically. So I'm like, how the hell did this happen? Like, first of all, he convinced me. But it really was true. because when he asked me, when we were talking about him specifically, he's like, well, how many other people have knocked on your door so far, or rang you up on the phone, or are calling you, pursuing you, that are interested in your success level the same way I'll be? He says, I make money when you do. Like, your success is my success. Why in the world would I ever tell you anything to hurt you?
Correct.
You're right, Joe. Why would you do that? So maybe you're right, Joe. You're like, maybe my only option in this whole entire world of probably 6 billion people at that time is to work with you. How the hell did that happen? So I did. I started. But I always remembered that exercise because it made a lot of sense to me. And by the way, it still is the same thing today. You're only as free as your options. And
excellent.
And that is so true.
Excellent.
So could this be an option for anyone listening? And I'm like, it certainly is, meaning the MLM stuff. It certainly is an option, and it might be your best option. And then I'll go back to Ken. Who else has been knocking on your door willing to teach you? Well, Ken will. Ken can show you how to do it. That's all you need, So you'll get our help, too, with the radio show and other things like that. But maybe this is the only option that you really need, and it's the best option you really have. So there you go. You're only as free as your options.
No, excellent. Great takeaways and great highlight points there, Peter. And I know that depending on some of the things that are actually going on, I know we've talked about some of the companies that are struggling, the ones that are doing really well, and the new companies. There's been a few new companies that have released their information just here within the last week because they're celebrating the birth of America, so to speak, the 250 years, and they said, well, now's a great time to get started, and et cetera. And I thought, well, I'm not so sure about that. I think people are out celebrating and on vacation, actually, so I think there might have been a better time to get started, but who am I to say on that, only because of past experience and knowing which parts of the year seem like a little bit better than other years to be promoting and marketing and advertising, et cetera. But I know with the advent of, and even invent of AI, because even in the commercial break where you're talking about your receptionist, one of the best AI receptionists, and I know that I'm not sure that's fairly new for you, and I would imagine that's working fairly well. I would think that would take some of the mundane part of the business because you have people that ask, or so many people ask the same question so that the same question gets asked over and over. I would imagine that AI is really helpful when it comes to taking care of those types of features or those concepts and ideas. And I think it can just make a huge difference in people's business results and outcomes, and that's kind of what's going on with the business that we're promoting. They're actually having AI work for you and with you to help build your business. So in other words, when it comes right down to it, and if you decide that this is the right direction to go, obviously they have a package that's all set up where they're able to talk to people that are interested in what we have to offer, and they're doing the phone calls, they're doing the texting, they're doing the follow-ups, they're doing all of the things that are needed to be done. And basically what you do is follow up and let people know that you're a real person and what's going on and why it works the way that it does. So how long have you had your receptionist, your AI receptionist, Peter, and what's your initial thought process on how it's working for you?
Okay, so I'll give you honest answers. So I thought I was in love. I never thought I was going to marry an AI receptionist, but I thought I was going to.
Well, that's probably good. Okay.
She's so good. I mean, she's so good, and she answers. She answers all the questions the way I needed her to answer the questions, and she was so good. And then, I think I found out that she's stupid.
Oh
my God! She looks good on the outside. She looks good on the outside. Actually, no, I said that the wrong way. So my AI receptionist is exactly that. She's the girl that I would marry. I mean, she is so good. Like, you can't get emotionally involved. I would call my AI receptionist just to talk to my AI receptionist. I think build that kind of relationship with her. The problem is everything else behind her is not necessarily up to speed. So the rest of the program that's attached to her, I'm going to give a C. I'll give her an A+++++, but everything else behind her is C. So what it's supposed to do, it's supposed to do emails for me, and what it's supposed to do is supposed to do texting for me. What it's supposed to do is supposed to make it easy for me to add a lead, and easy for me to send a reminder, and easy for me to do whatever. And I feel cheated. I feel cheated.
Uh-oh.
So I got to answer your question honestly, because you asked.
Yeah.
I love my AI receptionist. Everything else behind her sucks by comparison. Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think she's going to just be the fantasy girl that is just not real. But if they ever get the other stuff, I'm not sure if there's something wrong with either the way my account is set up or something with them doing some stuff. But it's typical technical challenges, you know. It doesn't remember certain things, and it's supposed to do all these wonderful things, and it not connecting to my Google Calendar the way I wanted it to. And after 3 weeks of getting it to connecting to my Google Calendar, it disconnects from my Google Calendar. I'm like, what the hell? I thought we did this. So
well, now,
as far as
it's still fairly new, though, isn't it, Peter?
Oh, it is brand new. Yeah, brand new.
Yeah.
So I'm working through the growing pains.
Okay.
So I'm trying to rekindle the relationship. But is the place where I wanted her to be. I think she's perfect because she handles information, repetitive questions, elementary questions. What she doesn't do is that intelligence stuff, like that I was sold that she would do, that they haven't been able to figure out just yet. So I'm helping them build their system to be what the real user would use. So I love my AI girl, but I'm not in love with the rest of the family. I'll say it like that.
No, all right.
I love her, but the rest of the family kind of sucks.
Gotcha.
So we're working it through. But everybody else is figuring out the same thing. I have no advantage. Now, you know the weird thing?
Yeah.
You know the weird thing? I'm just going to finish this. The best AI assistant so far that I found is Walmart. When I order from Walmart and they mess up an order, which they do, every other order they mess up, I can call up and I talk to AI receptionist, and she kind of gets it, and she knows where my last order was, and she knows if I say I was missing one of these or I got two of these that I wasn't supposed to get, she either forwards me to somebody that can answer the phone or she gives me a refund. And I'm like, this is sweet. She knew my order. When I spoke, she understood what I was doing. So Walmart, hats off to the multi-billion-dollar company Walmart, they're building their AI receptionist, probably the best commercial example I could use so far.
Interesting, and I just kind of say that word because sometimes we wonder at which direction that this AI is going to work or who it's going to help, and I'm somewhat surprised that you bring up Walmart. And again, it's like I mentioned to this young lady about the restaurant, and I brought up the different names that are associated with people that have learned to help numerous people in their concepts and ideas. And so I said, let me ask you some names here to see who you're familiar with. And the first one I brought up was Fred Smith, and then I brought up Larry Ellison, and then I brought up Bezos, Jeff Bezos, and of course Sam Walton. As soon as I said Sam Walton, she goes, oh yeah, that's Walmart. So when you said Walmart, that kind of reminded me of some of the names that I brought up to her. But she really wasn't that familiar with the other names that I brought up. She goes, I know I've heard Jeff Bezos before somewhere, and then it clicked once we kind of joked around a little bit. But I think that's really kind of the idea that's associated with the home business industry, and the fact that they've learned how to do things different ways, but their infrastructures are all set up, ready to go, and you can capitalize on what they have to offer. And we use of course, the terminology exponential growth, geometric progression. And I finally said, I'm going to throw something different at you so that maybe this makes more sense to you, because those words, until you're in the industry, really don't, it seems like they don't really mean anything. I says, what is your understanding of the compound effect? And when I said the compound effect, she started talking about how your money can grow in the bank, or if you're in the stock market, etc. And so she had an idea of what we meant by the compound effect. So that could be defined and take another portion of the radio show if we wanted to. But anyways, we finally got going a different direction, and I said, you need to take a look. We have our artificial intelligence, the AI, working for us. because they've got the program set up where they're contacting people who are interested in the business on your behalf. They have a way to text those people, email those people, and really all that's the matter you have to do is let those people know that you're a real person. And it's really good in the fact that the people that I have called and talked to, they're actually expecting a call, which is really unusual in this industry, because a lot of the time when you do make those calls, they go, how'd you get my information? What makes you think I'm interested? I mean, there's a whole bunch of different side questions that get asked back to you, and so you have to kind of go over that, whereas the way that things are set up right now, they've pretty much been handled in a certain way that they're expecting your call, and they just have a few questions, and then they want to know maybe what they need to do and how it all comes together. So pretty basic stuff, and it's really made things a lot easier, and the possibilities and probabilities are in your favor as opposed to the other way around. So anyways, hey, great stuff. Just wanted to keep it real simple tonight, Peter, and maybe give people enough information they go take a look and kind of see how AI is going to be working for them and what we have to offer as far as the possibilities of getting into business by yourself and really changing your financial future around in a short period of time. We're not going to tell you you're going to get rich quick, but I think it'll be a lot faster than a lot of the other options that are available out there. So, with that being said, I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to throw in there or add to it, but I think we've covered some pretty important concepts for tonight, and kind of leave it at this, and look forward maybe to next week, unless there's anything else you'd like to throw in there, Peter.
Yeah. All good stuff. So we're in a dynamic situation where a lot of things are evolving, and the people that take risks and go for it and take calculated risks and work with people and understand that there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve in just about everything, for those people that take action, they're going to be the winners. And for those people that don't, they're probably going to be left behind. And the gap, I'm afraid, is going to be so much between the people that jump in and the people that don't. It's going to really cause a separation. So what you want to do is like when I started my company, just because I didn't know how to do something, I wasn't going to let that be an excuse for not doing it. So I figured I could learn. Other people could do it too. Like there's lots of people who have kind of figured this stuff out, and now it's my turn. So, and I enjoyed the process, because I realized a lot of the lessons I learned are probably going to be lessons that I can apply in other areas of my life, and I'm glad I did, and still do every day, as you can hear, with my artificial girlfriend that I would eventually marry. So having said that, we're going to catch everybody next time you're listening to Ken Nielson and me. I'm Peter Mingils on Count on the Truth Radio. Go to countonthetruth.com, and you'll be able to hear this one and all the previous one as well. So, Ken, thanks for being here. Thanks for all your help. We'll see everybody next time.
Thanks, Peter.
You've been listening to Building Fortunes Radio on buildingfortunesradio.com. Thanks for listening. Building Fortunes Radio is part of the Youmongus AM and Youmongus FM radio network. Be sure to check out the buildingfortunesradio.com website to listen to your favorite shows. You can also hear us on Youmongus Radio and wherever you find your favorite podcasts. It's been our privilege to have you listen in. At Building Fortunes Radio, we wish you the success you deserve and are willing to work for.
Recorded.
There you go.
Bingo.
She said it started. Yeah, but hold on one second. I think she said it started again. I'm not sure. Let's see. Just make sure that's over. Okay, it's done. Yeah,
very good.
I thought she said it started again as well. We're good. Yeah, it was a good show.
No, easy enough. No, I think there was some really good key points that you brought out, and that the fact you say living in a restaurant is going to be your life. Wow, what a great point that was, man.
Yep.
I don't know why people don't get that, because I know the people that do it here in our area. If they've got if they're not doing a franchising experience, that's what they do. They spend 14, 16 hours a day and they never see their family, and you're just like, unless they go to the restaurant. So I just don't think people think about that stuff.
Yeah, they bought a job.
Yeah.
They bought a job.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, it's kind of fascinating because I know that your buddy that you did the UFO report with too. It's pretty cool that today is the actual day that Roswell started the UFO thing, and everybody, finally found out that the government's great at lying to you if they follow that story at all. And the other thing I forgot to mention with Styx, if they went back to 1977, it was 7/7 of 77 that they released that album. Wow. And that's why I thought that was kind of incredible, because that definitely supposedly if you got all those sevens behind you, there's got to be some good luck associated with it.
Yeah.
So anyway,
those people that study numbers, yep.
Yeah. So anyways, well, no, a lot of good key points, and that's I think that would be they're simple enough to keep people curious enough they should take a look.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's been a pleasant eye opener to see that these people, when you call them now, they're actually expecting a call. And I had a couple of people say, "Oh, I was expecting you to call yesterday or a couple of days ago," and I'm like, "Whoa, that's crazy that we finally turning the corner again," because I know how it used to be when we just would do lead generation, and then you call those people on the leads. Mm-hmm. Some of them know what you're talking about, and half of them don't know what you're talking about. So.
Right.
Anyways, that's just the way it works, and you just had to get used to that. And some of the names that people call you, I don't know how you got my phone number, blah, 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 don't call me again. Like, wow, that was a lousy lead. Anyways, I'm preaching the choir, you know about it.
Well, it's usually those are the ones that were probably called a couple of times by somebody else same day.
That could be.
Because sometimes they get bombarded with phone calls, or they just if you're getting all the outside telemarketing calls and then you get somebody really calling you up for real.
Yeah.
If you got 2 or 3 phone calls in the last couple of minutes and then all of a sudden you call, they're going to just think you're like everybody else.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
That's just so you just figure out different ways to try to go around it.
Very true.
Okay, cool. Well, thanks for the help earlier.
Yeah. Hey, let me just ask you one more thing.
Yes.
If I find out, I'll give you a call on that link again. Like I said, if I find out they got that right. But I was kind of curious that this, talking to this gal and a couple other people, because we talk about exponential growth and geometric progression. It must be something to do with the generation, because when I said, "What do you know about the compound effect?" that made more sense to her than the other two. Any thoughts on changing terminology and telling people, what do you know about the compound effect? Does that make more sense?
I don't know. I don't have a feeling for this one.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
Just depends on the individual then.
I think it really depends on the individual and the stories of the day.
Okay.
Because I think if you speak about exponential growth, a lot of people think about what's going on with AI and the economy and stuff like that, and they could be thinking maybe exponential growth is a common word.
Okay.
Compounding is like old-fashioned.
Yeah, right.
So, but maybe they know what it means. I don't know. So I don't really have a good feeling for which one would be a better word to use.
Okay. All right. I was just kind of surprised that she seemed like she had a better understanding of when I said that than the other two, and I was like, oh, that was interesting. I wonder why compound effect made sense to her, and the other two didn't come across the same way. So
that I don't know.
All right. Well, I'll just experiment with it then and see what happens when I bring that up and talk about being able to expand, et cetera, and if they've I guess been in the bank or earning interest, or people have talked to them about stock market. But I mean, they're pretty young for the stock market, though. It seems like you got to be a little bit older to be thinking about that. Maybe I'm wrong on that too. So, anyways.
Well, with stuff like nowadays, they have like Robinhood as trading accounts. There's a lot of people a lot of the younger kids are more familiar with trading than at their ages than what you were when you were their ages.
Gotcha.
So I think it's a different world. I think a lot of the younger people are probably more familiar with trading than most of us are.
Right. Okay.
They probably have done it, and they're probably more familiar with like the prediction markets, like the betting markets, like Kalshi and some of the other ones.
Okay.
Those are things that me and you just would never probably do.
Right.
But they probably very familiar with it.
Okay.
So I think it might be a little bit too hard to to judge one way or another.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll just kind of open it up then, and I'll just I'll throw that one in as an extra instead of the other two, and give them kind of the other side of things. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where she's going to go now, because I told her she needed to take a look at this. I think she's actually going to look at it now that we've talked about the different aspects of the restaurant. And I'll just tell her like what you said. You're going to be living your life in the restaurant if you get involved with it. It's not going to be just something you when you were a waitress, you went there for 6 hours or whatever it was, 4 hours, 6 hours. You didn't actually do your 8 hours because of the way they had it set up. So
you weren't the one who had to prepare the meals, clean the dishes.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep. You're really not seeing everything that goes on behind the scenes. So.
Yeah.
Okay.
4 hours on both sides.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Very good.
Okay.
All right. Well, hey, thanks for taking time to help me. So.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'll catch you later. Thank you.
See you, Peter. Bye-bye.
Thanks.